Okay, great. It is now 12:01. We'll go ahead and get started. This is Michael McClellan with Levine Electronics and Electrics, and what you've come to, either by accident or by design, is a lunchtime COVID-19 webinar. We hope you guys have been enjoying these webinars, and if you can think of a topic that you would like to hear about that might be on our line card, then please email us and we will get it arranged. A couple of housekeeping items. Your phones are muted. We are in webcast mode, and that way we don't have to worry about a barking dog or other noises in the background. So the way you ask questions is there's a button on the right side of your screen that I believe is a question mark or a magnifying glass or something like that, and you can type in a question and we would be happy to answer it for you at the end of the webinar. Today we're lucky enough to have Eric Mercer from Loadbank Direct, and there are some handouts attached to the presentation. Hopefully they're again on the right side on that same toolbar. There's probably a brochure, and there is most likely Eric's presentation. And there's some drawings in case any of you find yourself in need of budgetary dimensions and things like that. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Eric. And Eric, thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. Thanks for having me. Everyone, I'm Eric Mercer. I'm a application sales engineer with Loadbank Direct. Thanks for spending your lunch break with me. We're going to discuss trailer mounted load banks today. So without further ado, I guess I'll hop right into it. We do manufacture a wide portfolio of products, but today we're drilling in on the trailer mounted load banks, which are our largest portable solution for load testing. All right, so trailer ready load banks, trailer ready load banks. It's a portable load testing solution. So you see them a lot in service fleets and rental fleets, mostly for servicing larger generator sets. They can be purchased as trailer ready, which would be just the load bank here itself, as its own freestanding type unit. A lot of people will keep them as just sit in their warehouse or sit in their yard, just the load bank itself. So they can put it on any trailer. It's pretty versatile. Put it on any trailer. Either they're renting it out, they can mount them to, or they can put them on a customer supplied trailer if they're renting them out, or they can be purchased as a complete package, as you see here in this picture, on a trailer with the load bank mounted to it. And these are cable storage reels here. So they can be purchased that way as a complete package, or just as a trailer ready unit, just depending on the application. This style unit is self-cooling. They're force air cooled and self-cooling, so they don't rely on any external. They totally cool themselves. They don't rely on anything else to cool. So that gives them the ability to load test to 100% of the generator capacity. Whereas with other styles of load bank, you can be limited to 50% or less. But these are self-cooling, so they have that ability as well, which depending on the application can be very important. Some people like to see 30 to 50% load test. And other applications, they want to see this thing generator running at 100% load for maybe 2 hours, maybe 4 hours, maybe 8 hours. But with a trailer ready load bank, you do have that capability of hitting all those benchmarks when you're load testing. We offer these in vertical. As you saw on this page, this is vertical airflow. So you're exhausting all your hot air that's created by the resistors inside of here during your load test vertically out the top through these gravity louvers. And then we also offer them in horizontal airflow. As you can see in this picture, this is a horizontal unit. So airflow actually blows out of this door here that opens. Once you get to the site, fold that down, draws air in the backside, and exhausts horizontally. Some of the pros to this is just kind of where you're going to be using that. A lot of the times that I see this horizontal used is so like a parking garage or something where you're limited on height, or you're load testing below something you can't be blowing vertically. Your horizontal solution would be the best fit for something like that. But we can do either or. We have a variety of control options for these things. We can do them with standard manual toggle switch style controls, or we can also do them with digital controls as well. And we'll touch on that here in a few slides. Our digital control options as well, which are a little more comprehensive than the standard manual style controls. Still get the same job done, but they offer a few more bells and whistles and capabilities that you can't necessarily get with a manually controlled load bank. Typically, the trailer mounted load banks, this is like the large capacity end of our portable line of load banks. Typically we see these in the 1 megawatt to 3 megawatt range. But I think we've built them as small as 300 kW, but the standard size is 500 kW through 3000 kW. So this is definitely the bigger gear as far as portable load banks are concerned. So we also do like regular portable mounted on casters, but just depending on casters, so roll around units. But depending on where you got to do the load test at, how it's going to be used, the trailer mounted option definitely has a lot of benefits over something that's on casters and you got to move around with a fork truck or something to that effect all the time. These units are offered in dual voltage, so 240, 480, 208 configurations. The larger gear, 2.5 meg to 3 meg, we only offer those in 400, 480, and 600 volt configurations, just based on the available space we have to work in. Dual voltage isn't offered at those larger capacities, and you typically don't see 240 or 208 volt generators bigger than around a megawatt or so, just generally speaking there. So that's kind of a driving factor there as well. But we do offer the dual voltage, so you can go out and use it on pretty much any generator, as long as it's a 208 or 480 volt generator, which gives you a wide range of applications that you can use it in, compared to a single voltage load bank where you're stuck only being able to test either 480 volt, 600 volt generator. We also sell these internationally. We sell all over the world, so we do also offer 50, 60 hertz configurations. Typically 400 volts is your 50 hertz setups, and then all your other voltages are 60 hertz most of the time. Not as a 100% rule of thumb, but as a general guideline, that's what we see the most of. On our portable gear, trailer specific, all of them come standard with a digital metering package. So you can walk up to your load bank, see how many kilowatts you're drawing, how many amps you're drawing, see the frequency, see the power factor. There's actually the standard metering package actually measures 16 different parameters. So that's really nice, and that's standard on all of our trailer mounted load banks. We also offer internal and external blower power selection. So you can either derive all of the power required to drive the fans. You can get that right off the bus inside the load bank, so off of your generator that you're load testing, or you can go to external and get that power from an external source. Some of you guys might be wondering kind of, what's the pros and cons here? It really just depends on the load test and what's going on, because the blowers obviously draw juice. So say you've got a 1 megawatt load bank and you're load testing a 1 megawatt generator. If you throw all the switches on, you're putting a meg on it with the load bank, but you're deriving your blower power internally, you're actually going to be drawing more than 1 megawatt, because the 1 megawatt rating doesn't take into account the power being drawn by the blowers. So that's a feature we offer as on all of our trailer mounted gear as well. Most of the time people don't care too much and they'll just go with the leave it on internal blower power. Requires less cords and it's a little bit more straightforward, but depending on how close they need to get on their numbers, they'll go to external. Also, all of our trailer mounted gear now has standard 5 kW resolution. So say, you for whatever reason, you only have, a 2 megawatt trailer mounted load bank in your yard. It has fine enough resolution on it that you could go out and test a 100 kW generator with it if you wanted to, if that's all you've got available. But it does have the resolution to make that possible. All the trailer mounted load banks all have local controls right on the face of them. So you walk up straight to the unit, pop open the cover, and then you can just operate it standing right there. We do offer optional remote and stuff. We'll get into that in a few slides, but the standard is local controls mounted right on the face of the unit. All the units offer a fan phase reversal switch. So say you someone's not paying attention, or you end up hooking up all your Camlocks and you don't have your phasing right. We have a switch on there so you can avoid having to disconnect and rewire the whole thing, and it'll rearrange the phasing so you get your blowers, basically so your blowers are blowing up through the resistors instead of down, switches the rotation of the blower. That's nice and can be very time saving if it's overlooked, the connections are overlooked or done backwards basically. So that's real nice feature we offer as well. And that's standard on all of our trailer mounted gear. Our standard manual controlled units, they also offer a bunch of safety circuits, fault detection for overloading your motor. Say one of your blowers goes out and you're not getting cooling air into one of your through your resistors. The load bank's able to sense that, and it'll lock the load bank out until it senses that there is air there again. It also has a safety circuit for over temperature. So say either the blower quits working, it'll cut out on airflow, or doesn't have it sitting in a great place and it's recirculating the hot air that's coming out the top and it's sucking it back in the intake. It'll sense that and realize that, hey, it's way too hot in here, and it'll lock the load bank out until that fault condition is fixed as well. So there's a lot of safety conditions in here, or safety detection circuits in here to basically keep you from having a giant fireball going on your trailer. Nobody wants that. Basically keeps from all major meltdowns. All these load banks are portable. So Camlock power connectors for quick connects are offered on all of them. So no lugging to a bus or anything like that. You just walk up with your Camlock cable, push it in, twist it, you're locked, you're ready to go. That's a super big time saver when you're out in the field, because time is money. So we offer that on all of our portable gear, not just trailers, but it is standard on trailer mounted units as well. And that's what you're looking at in this picture. This is a Camlock panel on, I believe this is a 2.5 meg load bank. Those are all the Camlock connections as well. Got your A, B, and C phase. The grounds are on the side out of view, but that's what you're looking at right there. All your quick connections, and they also all have spring-loaded covers right here. So, say you're doing a load test, you're not going to be using the full capacity of the load bank. You've only got you're only using half the Camlocks because you know you're not going to be drawing that many amps. Those spring-loaded covers stay closed, so you don't have nobody has the ability to walk up and just stick their finger in there and electrocute themselves, basically. So that's another standard feature we have and we use for all of our Camlock quick connections. As I touched on in the first slide, these can be purchased as a trailer-ready unit, so just the load bank itself, sitting on sitting on the ground, move it around with fork truck, put it on any trailer you want to. But we also offer these as a complete package, so we can provide them mounted to a trailer we supply. All of our trailers have stabilizer jacks front and rear of the trailer, so you don't have to worry about it rocking around. Or if you're on an unlevel surface, you can level it out, get it sitting there nice and flat and solid. The standard gross vehicle weight GVW rating of our trailers, depending on the size of the load bank, ranges from 7,000 pound trailer. So that would be like your LT 500, way on the smaller end of the range of capacities, all the way up to a 15,000 GVW trailer for our 3 megawatt load bank. So we offer a wide variety of trailers for our load banks as well. These load banks can be purchased with different cable management options. So we can offer them with cable reels, which all come in enclosed lockable boxes. As you can see here, in this picture, you're looking at 3 600-foot motorized reels. Your button here for winding them up with motorized reels. So you just push this button after you're done with your load test, and it'll wind itself up on its own. You're going to be standing there guiding the cable, obviously, but instead of having to hand crank it or something else, you could just walk up, push the button, guide your cable on, done. Another big time saver. Huge benefit in the field for saving time and saving everybody's back from having to lug these cables around so much, because we all know how heavy 50, 100-foot lead of 4-aught cable is. This picture is showing 3 600-foot reels, but we also offer 1,100-foot reels as well. So just depending on the amount of cable, that's usually the deciding factor on those. Or if they want to have 1 reel per phase, then we'll go to the smaller reels. It just really depends on the capacity of the load bank, how many amps it's going to be drawing, all that good stuff. We also offer a cable storage box. I could not find a good picture for you guys of that one, but it's basically a large toolbox. So for some of the smaller units, if you don't want to, you don't have super long lengths of cable, or it's a smaller load bank, not as big of a deal to lug the cables around, you can do that. Or you can get cable reels and a cable storage box and use your storage box for tools or anything else. It's mainly for cable, but I've seen people use them for all kinds of different things. So those are 2 of the cable management options we offer. In this picture, you can also see, I mentioned they're all enclosed lockable boxes. They're not open like this all the time. Right across the top here, you can see that's actually the door on a hinge there, and there. Those flip closed and has a nice heavy duty latch on it, as well as spots for padlocks. So you can lock up all your cables, so you don't have anyone trying to rob your cable while it's sitting out in the yard on your cable reels. On these units, as I mentioned, manual controls with 5 kW resolution is standard. We do also offer digital control solutions as well. So we'll hop into that here in these next couple of slides. But just depending on the application, some people love the manual. They love being able to walk up, flip their switches on. That's great. But it just kind of depends on the application. You want some more bells and whistles, then you'll get into the digital control solutions. First up, our Series 1 digital controller. It's a microprocessor-based unit. Units equipped with this digital controller are able to be basically linked together, master-slave capability, and you can operate. So say you've got, for example, you've got 10, you want to do a 10 megawatt load test. Don't see it too often, but it definitely does happen. You could put four of our 2,500 kW units, sit them all on the trailer next to each other, run your master slave cables, and then you can operate them all from one of these controllers on one of the load banks and operate it as one 10 megawatt load bank instead of as one 2,500 kW load bank. With the manual load bank, if you were to stick with the manual controls, you could still put four of them on the trailer, but you'd have to operate all of them individually versus being able to operate them from one screen, take one set of readings, all that good stuff. So it definitely simplifies that as well. Units with these digital controllers, they also have all the same safety circuits that our manually controlled load banks are. It's just displayed a little bit different on the controller itself. Another awesome feature of this Series 1 digital controller, it's got voltage correction abilities. So say, you're running a test at 480 volt, your voltage dips a little bit, so your amp draw actually goes up. This thing automatically will correct and turn off steps on and off, in order to keep your load within, I want to say it's like 3% is the number, of the desired value. I missed one of the biggest pros of this controller. It's all based on binary. So that being the case, they all have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 32, and so on. That's how the steps are laid out. So all of these units have 1 kW resolution. So you could take a 2.5 megawatt load bank and go do a load test on a 10 megawatt generator, or 10 kW generator, if you wanted to. Not that anyone really wants to do that because it's way too big of a load bank, but with this controller, you definitely have that ability, no problem. That 1 kW resolution is a huge, huge pro. As you can see here, it doesn't show the 3-phase meters like you'll see on our standard manually controlled units, but you can get all the same info off the screen of the controller itself. You also can store the test results, download them to a computer, put them in a spreadsheet, put them however you need to, but you can't import all the data from your load test into a computer using these. You can also control them with the PC if you don't want to control them directly from the controller itself. You can run a cable to a PC and operate them from there, and as well as monitor the load test. Say, you got an 8-hour load test, somebody could sit in their truck on their computer and just monitor the load test, make sure everything's going according to plan, make sure, they're getting all the information they want to get, the load bank's operational, all that good stuff without having to stand right next to these things for, all day possibly. I mentioned local controls are standard on the trailer mounted load banks. That's true as well with the Series 1 controller. But we do also offer a handheld remote control with a cord up to 5,000 feet, a single RS-485. So one of those real tiny cables, not a whole lot to lug around. We offer that as well. So say you don't want to, your technician doesn't have a PC. We could provide this with that remote handheld control. You could run a cable over to his truck on almost a mile away, and still control the load test, measure any faults, watch the data, watch all the readings that are coming from the metering within the controller, via just not a big, but like a handheld remote, slightly smaller than, or slightly larger than the controller itself. The controller has a backlit crystal display. So, you're testing out in the middle of a super bright sunny day. They're still easy to read. That's a big problem with a lot of digital displays. They're real hard to read in the sun. We don't have any issues with that just because it is a backlit display. all of the firmware because we're continuously improving our products. So there are changes to the software here and there. If something like that were to happen, or you wanted to update to the newest thing, we can send the file, put it on a flash drive, plug it into this thing, and update it in the field, no problem, super easy. So that's another pro of this thing. As we make improvements, you might have bought a Loadbank 5 years ago. We can update it and give you the best software, the most current software we have to offer, and any additional features that may come with that as well. So that's our first style of digital controls we offer, and that's our Series 1 controller. So Series 1 controller gives you the 1 kW resolution, master slave capability, and has this nice, neat digital controller. All of your controls are done with these 8 buttons right here, other than obviously your power and your 8-stop. Everything's done right here. So that's our Series 1 digital controller. Our next digital control solution would be our RX style digital controller. And that's what's being shown here. I went out in the shop and took a picture of one of the units we got going through right now. And as you can see, I said, hey, this is a digitally controlled unit. What are all these toggle switches? Well, with the RX digital controller, it's basically, you have the option to manually control it, or you can digitally control it from a PC, tablet, etc. Which is really nice because sometimes, you don't need all the bells and whistles. You just need a manually controlled load bank for whatever generator you may be testing that day. So it can keep it a little bit simpler than, for example, the ECU style controller. Everything, like I said, everything is done through that digital controller itself with the soft key push buttons. Whereas on this, you can come out, flip your load step switches, do it just like you would with a standard manually controlled unit. With this unit, you can also control this thing just like the ECU controller with a PC. One of the coolest things about it is you can plug in it's all done with Ethernet cables. So you can link these together just like you can with the ECU controller, but it's done with Ethernet cords instead of RS-485. So it's a little bit more of a standard cord that people have laying around. It's not as specific to our load bank. So you can do that. And with this, you can do up to 250 load banks in a string. You usually don't see those kind of quantities unless you're looking at, say, data center commissioning or something like that, where there's huge power. But it does have that ability. Whereas with the ECU digital controller, you're limited to 16 load banks. You might think, all right, who's ever going to need more than 16 load banks operating together? I don't see it all the time, but you definitely do see it sometimes, depending on the scale of the project. With this style of digital controller, I mentioned with the previous digital controller, all the readouts are done straight through the controller itself. This one, just like on the manually controlled unit, still has a standard 3-phase digital meter. So you can get all your readings right there at the unit, or if you're controlling it via a PC, you can get all those readings there as well too. So this thing's a little bit more versatile than the ECU controller. One of the main differences I mentioned from the previous controller is that you automatically get 1 kW resolution because it's all based on binary steps. This style controller is not. It's got the standard 5 kW resolution, just like a manually controlled load bank. So that's one of the differences between the ECU and the RX controller. That 1 kW resolution, there's a lot of pros to it, but if you're never going to be using it with a little tiny generator, it's not always necessary. It might be a little bit overkill. We see those ones with the 1 kW resolution used in a lot of test cells and labs and stuff like that. So here, next page, this is kind of an example of, I didn't touch on that. So you can plug in a wireless router to this port. and you can control all these load banks wirelessly. So you can put a wireless router on each of these load banks, operate them as one large load bank from one PC without running a single wire as well. If you don't want to run Ethernet cord from load bank to load bank, or say your load banks are too far or really far apart where running a cord between them is not really an option, or it's just a lot more work than doing it with the wireless router. You just plug a wireless router into each one of these, sync them up, and you can operate all of them from a PC sitting anywhere, really, at that point. So that's one of the coolest features of this. And this next page kind of show you a little bit of a diagram showing how that would work. So each one of these load banks they can be plugged in. You know, you could have all of them connected with an Ethernet cable, and then one of the units has the router on it. And it connects to another router, which wirelessly talks to your PC, tablet, laptop, whatever it may be, wherever you may be sitting, and be able to control them all. So you could sit, you know, you don't even have to be at the site to operate this way, which is really, really, really cool in my opinion. And depending on the application, it might be a little bit overkill, but depending on the application, it might be perfect solution. And you limit the amount of Ethernet cords and different cables you got to keep track of, and keep people from damaging, etc. Pretty cool. So that's the RX digital controller. And I think I've covered them fairly well here. Running a little bit short. But I think I've dug in pretty far on covering all the basics, main points on the trailer load banks here. So get to my last slide here and give Michael some time to give you guys the option to submit any questions or comments, or if there's anything else you'd like me to go back over and cover better. I would be glad to answer any questions, comments, cover anything you may have.
That's fantastic, Eric. You've really learned a lot about load banks in a short amount of time. I think there's been a couple questions regarding medium voltage load banks. So why don't you talk about our solutions as far as a medium voltage load bank goes, with and without a trailer?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So we can offer these as like a medium voltage solution. But real on a trailer mounted, we also do stationaries as well. Stationary units would be, you know, mounted on a skid, and the interconnection between the transformer and the load bank would be all done by us, and nice, neat, and hidden. Trailer mounted solutions, usually because they are portable gear, they're used in you know, a lot more than just medium voltage applications. Most of the time, they're not going to be always used for those. So if we were to supply a medium voltage, you know, trailer ready application, it would be a transformer and a load bank mounted to a trailer, but the interconnection would not be permanently installed. So you could still operate as a low voltage load bank, or you could operate it as a medium voltage load bank if you do your Camlock connections from the trailer mounted load bank to the transformer, and then you just have to do your medium voltage connections on the high side of the transformer. So that's kind of our medium voltage solution, especially in the trailer world, because they're not always going to be used like I mentioned with medium voltage stuff most of the time. Some applications, yeah, that's all they have. But for trailer mounted solutions, the interconnection wiring is not permanent. So you still maintain the ability to do that, and we can do that mounted on a trailer. I guess most of the time we would provide that both permanently mounted as a complete package versus a trailer ready solution, just because not many people want to be moving a transformer on and off a trailer all the time just because of their massive weight. I think the last medium voltage system, it was a stationary system we provided, was somewhere around 15,000 pounds. So a lot of people don't have the ability to lift that kind of weight all the time. So we provide it as permanently installed on a trailer versus a transformer and a load bank. as loose components. I think that should cover kind of the medium voltage application for these. And obviously with those, it would require a much larger trailer than just a load bank by itself, just due to the much larger, or the size of a transformer. Most of the transformers we pair with our load banks, when it's medium voltage, you're usually looking at the 2 to 3 megawatt range most of the time. So the transformer is just as big, if not bigger, than the load bank, and definitely weighs more. So just as far as plain real estate that it takes up the installed footprint, you're going to be looking at a much larger trailer, much higher GVW rating as well.
That's great, Eric. Could we set up the transformer for multiple voltages? Like, say, I don't know if you're like a municipality and you have, or if you're a hospital system and you have, some 4160 volt generators and you have some 22,900 generators, maybe even 2400 volt. Can we bring out multiple taps?
I have not personally seen us do that. I would have to talk to my transformer vendor about the different solutions there. I don't have a great answer for you on that one. We definitely can do it for a single voltage, medium voltage, but I would have to talk to my transformer vendor some more to see what our options are as far as multi-voltage step-down transformers.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be entirely possible. I don't know much about transformers, but I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I'm not a transformer guy, except for how they apply to load banks typically. So I don't know exactly their full range of capabilities. I don't want to say it's 100% feasible, but it does sound reasonable because we do it on a smaller scale every day inside of a load bank on a dual voltage load bank, a 480 or 240, 480 volt rated load bank. We can configure our transformers. I know it's a lot smaller voltages to operate to step down from different voltages. So I'd say they have the ability, but I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth too soon here.
Sure. Here's another question. This is a good one. What is the power factor range available leading to lagging?
So all of these trailer load banks that I talked about today are all strictly resistive. So they're all operating at unity or 1 power factor. We do also offer resistive reactive units, but that would be kind of similar to the transformer load bank combo. It would be a trailer mounted load bank, and then which is trailer mounted resistive load bank, like we've been talking about. And then it would have another reactive portion on the trailer as well. That would be wired and operated in parallel. And we standard power factor we've offered, see the most of, as most of you guys probably see in your specs and stuff, is 0.8 power factor. But obviously that can be manipulated depending on the kVAR rating of the reactive unit. So I have not personally seen us do any with leading power factors. It's always lagging, so less than 1 power factors.
Fantastic. Here's another question. At what amperage do you have to go from pin and sleeve connection to Camlocks?
Pin and sleeve, all of our, I'm not sure what the exact answer to that is, but I can tell you that all of our load banks are offered with Camlock connections. That's the only kind of connections we offer on our portable gear. So that encompasses all of our, from suitcase style, as you can see here, to portable caster mounted, so from 100 kW to 1 meg, and then all of our trailer mounted gear as well. Camlocks are the only style connections. I think we have done some where they didn't want Camlocks, they just wanted to lug to the bus, but those have been mostly in international applications from what I've seen. But yeah, we offer is Camlock style connections on our portable gear. If there was another style connector that maybe was preferred, it's definitely something we could look at. But standard is definitely Camlocks only. But it's definitely, we try to bend over backwards and come up with the best solution we can for where our units are going and how they're going to be used. So depending on that, it's definitely something we could look into. But Camlocks are definitely the standard across the board for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I think you did a great job, Eric. If any of you have any additional questions, feel free to email us. Let's see, I think we have a poll question.
Awesome. Yeah. If any questions come up after 5 seconds, 5 days, 5 months after we get off this lunch and learn, feel free to send Michael or myself any questions, or any of the team at Levine. Any questions you may have, and we'll definitely address them, get you some answers. So appreciate you guys all for tuning in today. Oh, we got a poll open, it looks like.
There's another question that came in. Can you provide rain hoods on the inlet of the cooling fans?
We do not provide any louvers on the intakes. We have not seen any issue with water being drawn up through there, or the small amount that may make its way into the resistor chamber. It's turned into steam basically immediately as soon as it goes in there. And we haven't seen any bad effects from that. It's turned into steam immediately. It's running so hot in there and moving so much air that it's almost negligent. As long as I wouldn't point a water hose up in there and let it suck a whole water hose in, but operating in light rain conditions, stuff like that, we have not seen any issues without having louvered intakes.
That kind of brings us to another question, Eric. Why don't you talk about Loadbank's direct philosophy on vertical versus horizontal cooling?
Okay, so our philosophy here, I'll skip back a couple slides and get some pictures going on here. So our philosophy on the vertical versus horizontal, we definitely prefer vertical. It gives you a smaller footprint on your trailer. It also exhausts your air, obviously, vertically up and away from personnel. So that's what we prefer. But we also do offer the horizontal style, like you see in this picture. Gives us a little more real estate. We can offer dual voltage up to 2 megawatts in the horizontal package, whereas in a vertical package, we can only do single voltage at the 2 megawatt range. I want to say the standard, our largest vertical unit we offer with dual voltage is 1250 kW, but we've also built 1500 kW and 2000 kW units in the horizontal package that are dual voltage. So that's one of the pros, could be a deciding factor on horizontal versus vertical. But there's a downfall to the vertical as well, because as you can see here, it intakes at the back, exhausts out the front. You're not going to want to leave your truck sitting hooked up to this thing while you're doing a load test and it's blowing 300 and you can get hot spots at 500 degrees before the air mixes. So you're not going to want that blowing right on your truck. You have to be a little bit pickier about where you park it before you do your load test. You don't want to blow on a parked car, out on the sidewalk where somebody might walk in front of it and burn themselves. There's a little bit more, there are a few more precautions you need to take when operating a horizontal unit versus a vertical unit. One of the pros of the vertical exhaust as well is obviously you have natural convection aiding to cool it, whether it be in the resistor compartment or in the contactor compartment, which is this area I'm circling here. It's got intake, it's got exhaust and intake on it as well. So it aids with natural convection. It's aiding cooling your unit as well. Overall, we'll run cooler than its horizontal counterpart. But as you can see, I want to say this is a 2 meg. You see how big that is side to side of the trailer, about 12 or 14 foot long. They're pretty big. This guy right here, same enclosure here. You can do 2.5 or 2 to 3 megs in this style enclosure. And as you can see, it's a little bit difficult to tell in this picture. It's only about, I want to say they're 40 inches wide. I'm pulling those numbers correctly. They're only 40 inches wide. And they're a lot shorter as well. So you get it's a lot smaller if you want to have a bunch of these sitting in your yard. If you're a rental company, or a service company, you got a bunch of them sitting in your yard, they take up a lot less space. So there's pros and cons to both. In the stationary world, we definitely prefer vertical all day long over horizontal. But like I mentioned, with the horizontal, you get a lot more real estate, and we're able to do higher capacities at dual voltage. So that's the main pro of the horizontal, as well as, like I mentioned when we first ran through here, say you're load testing in a parking garage or something of that matter, or you're never going to get one of these load banks. This is probably, I want to say the overall height on this thing is, when it's mounted on the trailer, is real close to 10 foot. So you're never going to get something like that in a low ceiling space, or somewhere where maybe the ceiling's not super low. You can get the load bank in there, but you don't have enough area to exhaust vertically without causing issues or exhausting onto something, which is kind of the same issue you experience with these. It's just out of the end of the load bank instead of vertically towards the ceiling.
Great, Eric. I think this concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another Levine Electronics Lunch and Learn for during the COVID-19. We do have a few others this week, so join in to listen to variable frequency drives that can be placed outside, or there are some on circuit breaker watch, and there's also another webinar by Mike Bukovitz on Friday, one more interesting way to save space in the electrical room. So hope everybody has a great day and stay safe.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Michael, and thanks everyone for joining to listen to me.